pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council meeting was called to order. We'll follow and answer the roll call.
Mayor Ridenhour. Earl. Here. Knox.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Neely.
Here.
Newland.
Here.
Zimmerman. Here.
Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. School officer report.
$1,532,441.74 in all funds, $220,803.14 in the general fund.
Any addition?
There are additions today, and you all should have a copy. It was another payroll week.
Bills were read. Resolution 18-8-1 was adopted on motion by.
Knox.
Yes.
Newland.
Yes.
Earl.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Neely. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Okay, we'll start off with the guests. Let's see. Don't see Lenny. Don't see Cliff. Danielle. Step up to the lead. First Cliff. Okay.
I can wait.
You're next.
I took the Good evening. Most of you probably already know, my name is Danielle Ridenhour, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out this evening. I just wanted to have a few minutes of your attention in relation to the new section of bike or walking path in regards to safety and privacy. Most of you probably already know this is the portion that runs along Wapakoneta Street and then along the houses on Wayne Street. So I just jotted down some notes as far as the issues we've got, which actually before I get started, I do want to let you know our family does use the bike path. We do appreciate the fact that it's there because our children do have a better place to go. So in regards to the path, we're glad it's there. This is directly related to the safety and privacy of it. So the issues, the first one being current and future residents with direct access to the path. This is basically something where we've already seen the laws being broken, and we already have visual recording of that. So with people having the direct access and not being blocked, it makes it to where they go unseen because they can get home easier. The next one, a big one, safety and personal property. The people and children that would trespass onto the residential property, especially not knowing it's so close. This could result in many things, the theft, physical injury, that's gonna possibly ride into lawsuits on either party, whether it being the residents or walkers with dogs that may interfere with children in their own yards. And I wanted to make a note that I checked, and we do have one home on Wayne Street that does have their house as close as 20 feet from their actual home, their windows, to whomever is available to walk on that path. The third thing is there's no lighting on the path. I don't have that directly related later as far as a resolution. I just assume that this is something that eventually underway when the village has the opportunity that they would take direction into making sure that the wooded area and the field south maybe get some attention for this. The fourth bulletin refers to dog confrontations and violations. there's a whole slew of these that could happen, and this could go both directions to or from both the walkers or the residents. Not to mention the possibility of disease that could happen. People, when they walk their dogs, again, they're not gonna know that there's only 1 foot stretch on each side of that path that they're not supposed to pass. We have pets, of course, some of you may already know. Our dogs are trained, they know where to actually go, but that doesn't help someone from startling them or being in that same general area. So we don't, our dogs have never caused any problems in these years, but you never know how different interactions are gonna be handled when other dogs come into play. I did wanna make a note on that one, that there already has been, this is not my personal experience, but I have a neighbor, they've used the new path on the opposite side, I apologize. Where the existing path where it goes by the park and the residences are farther, where people have let their dogs out and don't watch them, and then they're running up to my neighbors who have been with their dog on the path. And we are always out with ours, but there's blockage where we can't always see someone coming from the neighbor's house. So I wanna make sure that that maybe gets some attention. The last one, of course, is a big issue, as you can see. I have 2 young children, young girls at that, and the sexual offenders definitely frightens me. I can't force anyone to leave the bike path, it is public property, so when we built our children's play accessories, we put them for us at the back center of our property, which was the safest because we have on our home, we're at the end of Wayne Street, so we have the front of the road. We also have an alley next to us, so we place their play items in the back center. That's now 3 foot from the path. Anyone can stand as close as I am to you. Video my children without me seeing something, which I do watch my children, but it's something where they're that close. And I would like to mention kind of in this, my children have been taught for many years to be very aware of their own self-safety in the fact because we have an alley that runs next to us. So they have been taught many years, if a vehicle comes up, run away because I don't want someone getting close to you to be able to steal you. Now that reality is even closer because they're on their swings and we've already had people that have come across the path and they might not be dangerous at all. Most people in general are good people. But because my children have already been taught to be aware of their surroundings, they run up to the house screaming because they're worried that something's gonna happen, and it is something in our home that we're working on calming them down. But nonetheless, this is a major, major change that they're not adapted to. I can tell you my oldest, actually my youngest, but my oldest is now having nightmares. Last night we had a nightmare that someone was looking through her window. And so I get a little bit less sleep every night right now. So I did list on there the various zip codes. Some of you might already know that's Wapak, Waynesfield. There's 3 of them that are Lima, Lakeview, and Russell's Point. Those are the registered sex offenders just in those areas. And that, I again want to point out, is just the ones that are registered, and we all know someone starts somewhere. I do have listed in there as well that I worry about people now that could purchase a home along that path. And if there's nothing there to protect them, we can't stop a sexual predator, whether they've been determined as that or not, from owning a property that sits right there on the front row for everyone. So if you jump down and look, I have the proposed resolution. My proposition is essentially an 8-foot privacy fence. The reason for the 8 foot is because the grading of, especially on Wayne Street, I haven't had up close personal to know on the Walpock side, but the path on Wayne Street sets at a lower grade than most of the houses. So even with a 6 foot path, I'm 6 foot, so I can stand like this and just about see over the top of the fence. And so that's why I proposed the 8 foot. I do understand that the town could be limited on funds, but I was hoping that I thought we'd possibly come under budget, and I was hoping we could maybe consider using some funds from that. And I do understand a fence is a big, expensive project. We are personally working on other sections for personal reasons, but I would like to see if we could start with an 8-foot fence, and if it's too much to go along the entire section of the Wapakoneta Street homes and the Wayne Street, because I know it's about 1,200 square foot, or 1,200 linear foot total. I at least would like to see something started on the homes on Wayne, because as I mentioned, Wayne Street's the one where the home is no further than 20 foot from the path. if we could at least start with that and then work into the other areas. I know along Wapakoneta Street, the bike path actually doesn't go on the alleyway itself. It's actually offset even farther out than what the designated alley is. So the residents, some of them along Wapakoneta Street have their property, plus the distance of the alley before the bike path actually gets started. I've got some other notes in here. You guys feel free to read that at your discretion as far as, we're willing to help upkeep on the fence itself if there's something that can be worked through. I do have in here, of course, a lot of people will jump right to the chain link fence. That's not gonna prevent a lot of the dogs that might be coming, barking, growling. I know there's been instances around town where people have poisoned people's dogs. I can't imagine why anybody would do that, but this would just be full on taking care of it right off the bat. So just basically concluding, I've got down here, as a resident of Waynesfield for the past 13 years, I have enjoyed living in this small town setting. I grew up myself in Wapak, so I do like this small town. Everybody knows everybody. Most of us can help each other out, keep each other safe, and I appreciate that. And as I said earlier, I feel like most people tend to be good, but every day as this came along, even before the path was dug, there was golf carts going through the backyard with just grass. And now as soon as the path comes in, it's not even completed, but there have been golf carts. They are late at night, by the way, so the golf carts that we're seeing is 10 o'clock at night. I open the door and let my dogs go to the bathroom, and they're used to right on that edge, being somewhere they may go, and there's just no lighting. There's no lighting out there, so I have to very much somehow keep a close eye on what's going on, but I just felt immediately that security was very quickly slipping away. And obviously my children immediately felt that as well. So I'm just asking for the village council to please take time to individually consider the citizens, do whatever research. I know that this isn't something you can do right now. I know this is something that estimates have to be done, budgets have to be looked at. I get that, that's a business aspect, I would expect nothing less. So I just wanted to take a few minutes, put this on the books, and make sure it is something that hopefully we can get some attention given to. And I do ask that in a resolution, somehow the information be dispersed to the people affected from this. If there is some kind of a notice, letter, any kind of rebuttal, if you can send something to us homeowners, or at least myself, so that we do know that it's been given attention. So that's my request. Is there any questions for me?
Thank you for your time and bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
Cliff. You're up.
Do you have extras of those?
I actually do have one.
Okay, when I'm done, I'll,
Okay.
yeah, I want the clothes. I'm Cliff Roberts, many of you that don't know. If you don't know, you can keep it that way. Okay. At last month's meeting, I brought up the matter of why, after 24 years, parking in front of my own house was suddenly a problem, which it turned out that there were no laws being broken, so someone decided there needed to be a tree law ordinance put into effect. As I recall, no one on this council took credit for coming up with this idea, nor were there any reasons for this proposal presented in the meeting, as I also pointed out that also over 45 different households would be affected. To my knowledge, this would still be the case, including the fact that safety concerns were not established as a valid reason for this tree lawn ordinance, and I understand there are other reasons. However, when council went into executive session to discuss the village administrator position, Chief Motter gave me an explanation concerning how people were actually parking on the new curving out here on Westminster Street on the newly established tree lawns during the community garage sales days. I got to think about that. That shouldn't be happening, okay? So this is where I do believe that a tree lawn ordinance would benefit in protecting these areas that have been renovated and updated. Therefore, here's my proposal for a compromise to benefit the entire community. Should council vote affirmative on a tree lawn ordinance to be enacted, I ask that all other established parking locations, which are currently over 45 individual households, be grandfathered in under subsection B of the ordinance draft, unless it's changed. As the streets are updated and improved, these streets will be added to the list of those that the tree lawn ordinance is now going to serve to protect. I also had asked that when maintaining the affairs of the village, that when you're proposing anything new, big or small, that you make every effort to contact and inform all who will be affected as to if they have any questions or concerns before initiating any project. I'm thinking that this isn't happening yet because, number one, some of my neighbors who are being affected by the extension of the walking path at the park didn't know that they were having live trees cut down instead of just like going around the trees. Seeing how it's just a walking path and not a raceway. Also, as they have cut down live scenic trees, they did not cut down the dead one behind the hardened Walty property, which now presents a safety hazard for all who will be on this section of the walking path. And it's perfect what Danielle brought out about all that too. Of course, some of this will come out before anybody even thinks of it while the project's being done. I understand that. Reason number two that I don't think that the openness and stuff isn't happening concerning this alley issue, couldn't openness, honesty, and contacting and informing all who are involved possibly have avoided involving attorneys and possible lawsuits? Here's a compromise for that. Be honest and open about what is being planned for this alley to be open to. If it's government-funded housing, tell us. If it's nice condos, tell us. In either case, you have a street called Copeland Street off of State Route 67 that can be extended to the north too, and I put nice condos, not the other kind. I would also like to thank, for a brief moment, all those who volunteered to mow down the tall grass at the new Dollar General, and most likely it needed mowed because of the lack of concern from the owner of the building and the grounds, who is the contractor who put it all up. I do regret to inform you, however, it's probably in violation again, but I do look forward to seeing the great mowing job performed again soon. Also, does this mean that these same volunteers will be mowing all properties in violation of the tall grass ordinance as a neighborly gesture, of course, such as the property on the south side of East Wapakoneta Street and out of town, between the bar that's for sale and the Sunoco station? Pretty tall. People, let's make Waynesfield friendly again. Communicate, communicate, communicate. My wife thought it would be a good idea to help keep one informed by attaching notes or whatever you want to put in to the electric bills, because everybody gets one. And as I understand, not everybody pays them. But if you're not communicating, guys, it gives the appearance of sneakiness and dishonesty. Thank you very much.
I'd like to comment to that.
Yes, sir.
There's a board pushed outside the post office, and in the post office, in the library, right? Where everything is posted. Oh. I don't know.
I work 12, 13 hours a day.
Well, I understand.
I don't have
Yeah.
time to just sit down and read everything.
I
My
don't
wife would
either,
get the
but-
electric bills. I haven't seen an electric bill.
This has been there for years.
Well, I understand.
We've done that.
I understand, and that's one way. But there's apparently a communication breakdown.
In what way?
Well, I think Danielle just brought up something seriously important. And I brought up something about a dead tree that didn't get cut because it didn't have an X on it, right beside the live trees that were cut. Do we not have a project inspector out there watching this?
I don't know.
The tree was not in the path. The trees that got cut were designated in the path.
Well, it's even better, it's right beside it now.
And
It's
is it on
dead.
private, is it on private property?
I have no idea.
There again, you're making an accusation without facts.
Well, I am making an accusation because I don't know.
That's not.
But here's the thing.
But here's the
If
thing.
it is on private property, would that be your responsibility to contact that property owner and say, hey,
Why would that be my responsibility or the private property owner And tell them their tree's dead.
Because you're putting it right alongside and abutting their private property.
This is not a court. You are, okay.
We should
So
work.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Go committee report, finance.
So I have a resolution asking, basically just for transfers, and all these are is just looking ahead into the future, just trying to move some money around to make sure we have what we need hopefully to get through the rest of the year and do certain accounts, so that's why there's just a few of those.
I'll make a motion, we suspend the rule of 3 readings and declare an emergency. Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Zimmerman.
I'll make a motion to adopt an ordinance 18-8-1, an ordinance to amend appropriation ordinance 18-1-1.
Miller,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Zimmerman. Thank you.
Anything else for finance? Committee report?
I'd like to tell them, great job on that up there. I'm pleased. That looks awesome.
I do want to say,
We didn't do it to please you.
I wanted to say
I
that's
do want to
awesome.
say this, when I talked to you, Mike, I
Over a
didn't.
year ago.
Year ago, I said we was going to tear it down. He mentioned it 2 times. I didn't watch the meeting. When I talked to you 2 weeks ago, you didn't say nothing, but you knew the owner was going to tear it down. You did. I didn't watch the video yet, then I watched it. Why didn't you say? Then I saw it. There's a lot of eyesores out there.
I didn't know you owned it until after the meeting. I just
It
was
doesn't matter
driving
who
around
owned it.
town. I was driving around town on that committee.
Why 103? Why did you just pick 103?
There's a lot
Excuse
of
me,
other
excuse me.
houses.
Are you on the agenda, sir?
No, I'm not.
Thank you. I think we need to continue with the meeting.
I just congratulate you on a good job she was here.
Any other committee reports? Police report.
July's numbers took a drastic uptick from previous months with the July 4th holiday and overall being a month with a lot of traffic going through town. We stayed very busy. Typically August remains fairly steady and then September slows down a little bit. We'll see if that trend continues. The arrest was made in the homicide case on Karen Street from July 2017. Brent Williams was indicted by a grand jury for the strangulation death of his wife, Erin Mulcahy. Williams is currently out of jail on bond and awaiting the legal process to play out. Been told this may be the first homicide the village has seen since the late 40s, early 50s. Auglaize County Sheriff's Office, Auglaize County Coroner's Office, Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, Lucas County Coroner's Office, and the Waynesfield PD have all been involved in this case. So far, hundreds of hours have been spent on this case, and we're not even close to being done. So that's taken up quite a bit of our time here lately. This past month, approximately 10 to 15 properties were notified that they were in violation of the village's junk vehicle notice. I'm happy to report that most of the properties have come into compliance. There is one current property that's in non-compliance that's requested a hearing before the Property Maintenance Committee, which means no citations have been issued for junk vehicles as of this date, and I hope it stays that way. Our goal is not to write tickets on this. We just want to move towards trying to clean up the community, but people have been fairly receptive to that, so I do appreciate that. There are still some residential properties in violation of the junk vehicle ordinance, and those properties will be addressed in the near future. I've been trying to meet with about 1 to 2 property owners a week when I serve the warning notices to explain what they need to do to gain compliance, process should they need additional time to achieve compliance, and the consequences should they take no action at all. So far, like I said a moment ago, this process has been fairly successful. There have been a couple properties where I couldn't reach the owners after 2 or 3 attempts, so I had to place notices on the vehicles as well as the residents. However, I do actually like to talk with the people before issuing the notices, so we'll continue to do that. As part of the follow-up to the Click It or Ticket national program, the Drive Sober Get Pulled Over national campaign began August 17th and runs through September the 3rd. While the focus is to try and provide greater visibility to lower drunk driving and ultimately make roadways safer, we're also enforcing all other traffic laws to increase safety. For the Waynesfield Police Department, that really doesn't change what we're doing. I always try to make the roadways safe, whether there's a national campaign going on or not. However, by participating in this campaign, we become eligible for certain grant opportunities. Lastly, WG Schools went back into session for the 2018-19 school year on August the 16th. Prior to the school year kicking off, I was asked to give a presentation to the school's entire staff regarding school safety. This year, my presentation differed from previous years. I not only spoke about the reactive ways to deal with a school violent incident, but I also shared a vision of some ways that we can be proactive towards preventing school violent incidences from occurring in the first place. The feedback was really good. I would say probably phenomenal, actually, and I'm in talks with not only WG schools, but some other districts as well to provide further information and training regarding this plan. I'm very excited about this opportunity because if we can make our school a better place, it'll lead to making our community safer and better. That's all I have.
Questions? Administrative report.
Okay, I'll start out with talking about the walking path. It is a topic of conversation that is going as planned, it's going as designed. Contractors have been exceedingly cooperative in working with the village and making sure that there's as little intrusion upon private property as possible. It's actually a lot better than I remotely anticipated. They've been able to stay within their parameters very well. And that's one of the things I didn't hear brought up tonight, so I'm pleased to hear that if we missed something, that there hasn't been any complaints about them encroaching upon private property. We really were diligent.
They do very
I do
well.
meet with them daily and regularly on, there's been several things that we've had to discuss and confirm and coordinate with them. In reference to any trees that were removed, they were trees that were designated from the beginning of the project because they were in the middle of the path. I know that there may be question that why in those areas that the trees weren't left and you went around it. In those areas, we stayed on village-owned property or right-of-way, and we didn't go onto private property. So in order to put the path in, they had to come down, and that was from the original design. So that was an explanation for that. And then we've done curb painting. We haven't got all of it done like we wanted, but we did like what the council had asked, that we tried to find somebody at a lower rate. And we hired a high school student as long as we could, but along with football and going back to school, that has stopped. So we're going to still progress to where we're going to try to coordinate with somebody, maybe part-time or a minimum wage person to complete that project. But if not, we will get it done. Now the crosswalks, because those are pertain to the law enforcement side of it, we will probably self-perform them as we've always done to make sure that's done as good as it can be. So we anticipate doing that very soon. Attended a AMP meeting, and I think our attorneys will be updating council on those in Columbus last week. So that's all I have.
Question?
Can I ask one? So I love them, I didn't know if you were gonna look out here and ask. Is there lighting planned?
Lighting plan for the walk path.
It's always been discussed. The ultimate goal is, by design, is that we would change the lighting on Southwest Minster Street to mirror Northwest Minster Street. And at the time that we can do that, we would take the lighting that's on Southwest Minster Street, since it's a different design and concept, and put that along the walking path. That has been the discussion from back when we started applying for grants. That has always been the conversation. But in the meantime, I think there's some very good points brought up, that if nothing else, that we get some security lights out through the wooded area and in those quadrants, because it's gonna be good for not only the residents, but for law enforcement also. And so Nathan and I have talked about doing some things in that area, but just, that is the plan.
What do you mean by security lighting? I mean, obviously not the big, expensive light posts and stuff.
Well, most of the lighting in town are security lights, like at your home.
Right.
They're just
Okay.
dusk to dawn lights, security lights, that's what the typical lighting is throughout the town. So that would be the same type of lighting I would recommend, at least in the interim, that we put down through there so we can illuminate the area.
You really wanna take a couple way out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I mean.
So wide open and light.
But that would be something I think we could do short term and to make it a safe area. I don't think anybody would want to discourage any kind of safety issue.
No, I'm not assuming that. I wouldn't
No,
assume
I'm
that.
just stating it for record.
Well, until the lighting, and even after there's lighting, are there gonna be hours that people should not be on it?
That's a law enforcement question, but I would assume, because we do that in the park now.
No, that's what I was wondering, since it's the park, extension of the park, if that was gonna apply.
I'd have to defer to that.
The answer is currently the park hours are, the park is closed from sunset to sunrise. This body will have to decide if those hours will remain in effect for all of park property or if they're going to deviate from that. But as it currently stands, the walking path is part of the park and it would be closed from sunset to sunrise.
Is it posted out there though?
Posted at the two main entrances of the park, yes.
Yeah.
With, along with other park rules such as no alcohol and that type of thing.
We'll probably put signage down the other entrance then down by Wayne Street
There-
entrance probably, I'm sure.
We've already discussed all that, such as signing for no motorized vehicles on the path, and adequate signage is going to be required for sure.
Thank you.
All right, mayor's report, $2,622 deposited to the general fund for mayor's court account for the month of July. With that, we'll go to old business.
My solicitor should work on that.
Nothing to new business.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 18-8-2, a resolution accepting and adopting the 2019 alternate planner distribution of local government fund and local government revenue assistance fund for Oakleys County, Ohio, as proposed by the Oakleys County Budget Commission.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Neely,
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 18-8-3, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined